Welcome back to an alternate universe of professional StarCraft to allow me to introduce to you with the Keiron converters in the top left, in the blue from Storm Gaming. It's Gerald. And in the bottom right with the Xayid Scavengers from the Platinum Heroes, though he's definitely several leagues above that. It's Eggs. This match and several of these highlights from the ScionCraft Custom Cup, a tournament held recently on the Scion Custom Mod, which adds 3 new, fully fleshed out playable races that are similar but distinctly different to the races that you know and some of which you love. You may see a lot that is reminiscent of Terran, Zerg, or Protoss, but you're also very likely going to see some things that are entirely new, and this is because I'm always blown away by this. These are custom models, sounds, animations by the author, Solstice, added to the game specifically for this mod. And honestly, they look like they fit right in. Entirely believable, especially with the theme of these factions. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit, the converters and the scavengers. But first, one important part of the build, which is always begging you for likes and subscribes. And yet, Jimmy, what are we at? 1,176 likes on this video, on this cast, on this new-ish experience. And I'll cast another series. And maybe some more Scion games, if you're interested. But hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully something new will make it just a little bit better. Let's go over some of the basics here. Though it looks like Eggs is going for a rush. Okay, Xayid. It's not Zerg, but it's not too far off. You have your scavengers, which build buildings much like Terran SCVs. You have 3 different production facilities. The Xayid Den, the Biomass Hatchery, and the Avian Nest, all of which give you access to different sorts of units. Extras which are unlocked by things like the Mutagen Chamber, which also provides upgrades. The Mutagen Chamber allowed Eggs to get that larva from his Xayid dens to rush out roamers, as you see roaming incredibly quickly across the map here, matching, well, already hitting the Keiron converters. Gerald went for a quick expand, so that means he doesn't have very many units to materialize. Keiron does not have pylons, but instead production facilities which give materialization charges, which work very similar to Warpgate. And you can materialize units based on the amount of charges you've gotten from your production facilities. In this case, he has an edifice, 2 sanctums, and a foundry, which is a fancy way of saying he has 1 of effectively a gateway, 2 of something like robotics facility, and then the foundry is like a robo-bay. The pulsars out of the sanctum here, acting as your frontline defense, but the roamers are able to overwhelm them. The vaults, which are materialized in these mini-ranged units, clearly no match. A pulsar targeted down before it could even see the light of day, and the roamers are still going to work. Yes, this is a committed early game strategy out of Eggs, but he's putting those eggs to good use in order to limit Gerald's economy. As even though the development of the game is somewhat different, I think the general theme of preventing Keiron from getting too many death balls, in this case literally, my favorite unit by the way, the Umbra, which is like a rolling immortal. It doesn't quite have the HP, but it does have a lot of damage output, an incredibly cool animation, and even better, it can remain cloaked while rolling. If it doesn't attack for a while, it is cloaked, which makes it that much harder to track down, on top of its relatively fast move speed. But Eggs has added on more roamers. He's not willing to give this up quite yet. Targets down the vaults, pulsars warding away, doing clearly a lot of damage there. And the units are not supposed to be a direct equivalent to their alternate universe counterparts, though we do actually have a match if we get to it. I'm not sure how long these matches are, but of Protoss versus Keiron, which should be very interesting as well. I am impressed by how close the factions are in strength to their more storied counterparts. But so far, Eggs able to limit Gerald's economy, but not able to do critical damage. So that's going to force him into another base. Adding some feeding pools here, which are the supply depots. They give some slight healing in an area, as well as increasing the spawn rate of things like Xayid dens. There we have A third Xayid Den being added on. The Kasnolisk with bile ducts here. You gotta have those fully opened bile ducts for your Kasnolisks. Are there any Kasnolisks on the field? You'll know them when you see them. The Kasnolisk are, you know what? He's gonna build some, I'm sure. Well, when we get there, we'll get there. But more charges were stored up. A few more Umbras materialized. Pulsars as well. Here comes another fight. Some Menlings at the back doing exactly what it sounds like. Scorpulus on the front line are relatively easily dealt with. Some Subjectors as well being added into the composition. Morbid anti-air unit, but the Umbras are rolling forward as Gerald realizes that Eggs bit off a little more than he can chew. Gotta be careful, those Umbras taking a lot of damage there. Some of the Vision Parasites giving vision of that area for a few seconds on the high ground. No way to deal with them besides, well, dealing with the source. Pretty cool effect. Oh, finally a Kasnolisk on the way. Yeah, you're gonna recognize that unit. It has stagnating bile, and I believe it's called literally explosive glob. That I might be wrong about that, but that's what I think of it as, which is a corrosive bile that takes a lot longer but stuns any units, and this includes your own units. Just assume any ability that has AoE or something like that also includes your own. There's a lot in Scion, but they're a double-edged sword. Whereas it also has the explosive glob, which essentially rolls a bowling ball, and when it hits something, it does a bunch of damage and knocks them back. So two very different but kind of synergistic abilities. You can stun them and then strike them out, but they do cost energy. All right, those Umbras on the high ground gonna roll back. Very, very microable unit and a ton of fun to micro. Gerald down to 70. Well, he's at 77 supply against 102. Eggs leveraging his constant aggression to maintain control of the map clearly. He's got that third base done. And Edifice materializing here, gonna be taken out. A couple wards added in for potential support. They can restore the shields of their counterparts or add a protective shield bubble that significantly increases the survivability. It takes the shield of the ward, which has 250, and it essentially makes it a big AoE shield for everything else. You'll know it when you see it. Where are those Kasnolisks? Oh, there it is. I think he tried to use the explosive glob. Down goes a ward. What an expensive pick-off there, and here comes Gerald. There's the shield bubble. But in a bit of an odd location. Now, we'll protect him on this side. A few pariahs being materialized. The front line, essentially Zealotlings. They have a little shade ability that helps them close the distance, but they only have 45 HP and 25 shields. So the yellow bar is Keiron shields. Just a copyright-free version of the Protoss ones, but I believe the mechanics are similar. It's just to distinguish them. All right, here comes Eggs. 131 supply, 76 to 49 army. It is +1 Carapace with +1 Keiron mech weapons. It's a very similar split to Terran in how Keiron upgrades work. They have their mechanical units like Umbras and Subjectors, and then their bio units like Volts and Pariahs. And here comes Eggs. Whoa, the explosive glob not doing enough. Shield bubble blocking out on the top right side. 12 converters going down. We got a drop in the back, though. Ferrying in 4 roamers, helping to kill some of the converters. So even though Egg's not able to win the fight decisively, he's starting to whittle down the economy here of Gerald. Backing off the Inducer, bouncing. Oh, the Inducer is so cool. Raptors at the front. You can see what they're inspired by. They work a little more like a mini Muta. The Inducer is one of the coolest designs for units. So it has a big energy, colloquially known as a basketball, and it dribbles that basketball. It can only attack when the orb has returned to, well, here you go, here's a demonstration. It has a very long range, but the closer you are to your target, the faster the orb returns, thus increasing the attack speed. It's a very expensive unit with relatively low DPS, but its essentially flexibility makes it very helpful. especially in varied fights. Now, here come a few Scorpilis at the front. The Roamers behind. Here come the Umbras, though. Another counterattack on the left flank. Roamers trying to break through. The Edifice not going to complete in time. No nullifiers behind it. Warping in some Subjectors, which don't have that much anti-ground DPS. They're more of an anti-air unit, but they're kind of a one-size-fits-all Stalker-esque. Oh no, the Umbra's getting caught in front. A few Umbras behind the lines. They don't have that much range to work with. Caught on the ramp here. The Myriad doing its best to help out. The ground carrier unleashing the Elytrons. He's actually got 4 Myriads stumbling across the map here. They're effectively ground carriers, but their Elytrons they unleash are easily taken out by a ground army as well. So, can be a costly investment. A Spitter added in for Eggs, who now has a 4th base. More Scorpilis in production. So far, Eggs able to keep the tempo advantage throughout the map. But Gerald does have a very strong army. Keiron is defined by the strength of these mech units. It can fill in some of the bio, but it's mostly about the Myriads, the Inducers, later on some very strong air capital ships, as opposed to the water capital ships, I guess. There's a shield bubble. The Spitters on the back line, they're most like Mangonels from Age of Empires. They can target ground as well. If they want to go for a different target, because they're relatively easily dodged otherwise. Maybe not by an army of this magnitude, but these Spitters are the main backline DPS on the ground here for Eggs, and adding them in just in time to compete with what Gerald's been able to bring to the table. We now have several avian nests throughout the main. Each of the hatchery-esque production facilities has its own kind of worm. I believe it's literally called worms. Yes, worms. I don't know what the avian nest ones are called. But they have their own special grubs. Wait, now I gotta know. What do we have here? Grubs. Is there a biomass hatchery around? Am I blind? Yeah, there it is. I'm not sure if the avians also have grubs. Wasps. Okay, those are... You got the idea. Now the Spitters at the front. Gonna break through the edifice wall. No nullifiers behind, like the super cannons. A bunch of Raptors added in, though the Subjectors should be able to ward them away. The Spitters are chunking up this base. Meanwhile, another attack on the right flank. The Keiron army not able to move into position in time. The Roamers are taken out, but down goes another base. Eggs is losing a lot, but the Raptor's starting to work on the converters. It's 93 to 58 workers right now. Eggs is playing this just tempo-based. It's a very Zerg-esque. I mean, these players in an alternate universe. Gerald is a professional Protoss and Eggs a professional Zerg. Or so my alternate universe counterpart has told me. We'll have a crossover episode, I think, later. I think I may have mentioned that already. Eggs so far. The thing, at the end of the day, in my experience, is you have to beat the actual army. It is very much like playing against Protoss. Now, unless you can continually whittle down the economy to the point where the army can never move out, you have to beat the army itself. And that is the hardest part. Right now, Gerald has 86 to 85 army supply. He's stuck running around chasing these Raptors. But it does require workers to materialize your bases. And that is the weak point, sniped off by Eggs there. A bunch of roamers over to the left flank. Really utilizing them throughout the game here. I think we have some revilers on the way, if that's what those are. Oh, he's injecting the Spitters, which is a good thing in this case. I believe that increases the attack speed. He's doing that with the Xayathones. These things. The XTs. Meanwhile, also an Exterminator, but that's more of an anti-air unit, no matter how aggressive it looks. The super corrupt... Oh my god, it's got like a spore crawler thruster. Jeez. The Royal Corruptor. It does have a similar purpose, I believe. Prolonged Spores, which I believe, a lot of belief required here, a lot of faith, as I use my best guess. We also have, I think that's Battle Frenzy, increasing the DPS of some of the ground units. A whole bunch of Revilers, a much more stable frontline option than just Roamers here. But that is quite a death ball of death balls. Able to flank the army, but the Myriads, the Electrons in front, the Spitters starting to chunk through, the shield bubble popped immediately. The Titans holding down the front line, and Eggs being burnt to a crisp by the overwhelming amount of Keiron firepower. He's whittling down what he can. A lot of the Electrons were taken out, the Myriads forced to rebuild them. And Gerald, well, he still maintains one Titan. The army is just, well, another shield bubble used. Eggs is rebuilding. Maintains a higher supply. Just getting all the army into a location it can fight is the clear struggle here. Titan out in front. A couple more Titans moving up. And will Eggs actually be able to break this? He's got 97 workers. He doesn't need to keep this base. The Spitters are doing what they can. Another Umbra taken out. Bit of a counterattack on the way. This is essentially a 3-base all-in on a Gerald. There are 12 more Raptors. Limited anti-air. The Inducers can hit up. I'm not sure about the Myriads or the Titans. The Bio Pit's on defense for Eggs, but not good enough to withstand this entire army. An Aegis has been warped in, but not enough to protect the Converters here from the Scorpolisks. Another sec gonna go down. Subjector's fighting Scorpolis directly. Gerald is pulling back, but he's lost 20 more workers. The Citadel Shield. Used by the Aegis, though it's a bit late, I think, as most of the Converters are already dead. 5 Krakens are now on the way as Eggs potentially overwhelming firepower. I don't know if firepower is the right word, but Gerald just unable to keep up with the mobility of the Xayid army here. He's still got this death ball, but the Krakens, well, you'll recognize what they're similar to. The Krakens also have the, I believe, the volatile discharge ability, which puts a nuke on the ground, and if you don't kill it in time, it does 200 damage in the area. And once again, well, also to friendly units. Ask me how I know. Working his way up here. The Raptors working on a base. Gerald is essentially all in. The Krakens lay down 2 volatile discharges. They're going to be targeted, but you gotta finish them off. Watch out, watch out, no! Oh no, that's friendly fire! Eggs! Oh, it's a disaster! That's a lot of, he doesn't know it does friendly! Oh my god! Oh, another hit! He's blowing up his own Krakens! It might still be enough, but he certainly doesn't realize it does friendly. Oh, you gotta stop doing that. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Okay, I think he's realized. Okay. Whew. At this point, I think the damage has been dealt, though. Eggs has enough army, despite the strength of the Keiron here, that the amount of inducers is good, but I don't know if it's good enough. Another bounce. Chipping away at the Krakens that have mostly damaged themselves. There's not much anti-air left. The inducers are pretty good against a single target. But if they get distracted by the Scorpolis, for example, throws out a few more volatile discharge. Oh, please. Please, Eggs, don't do it. Be careful. You gotta get out of range of that. Both sides do. It does have a slight cost. I believe it costs like 50-50 or something to throw those out every time. So they're not just a cooldown ability that explodes. Having a massive explosive on a cooldown with no cost would be ridiculous. Gerald is dismantled, and Eggs claims 2 Gs, just like in his name. And that game will go to Eggs with some Great tempo-based Xayid play there. Gerald never really able to put together the army. So beautifully done. An impressive game. I enjoyed that one a lot. Alright. Let's see. I promised. I've decided. I have a few highlight games that were recommended. I've decided we're gonna do a crossover episode. Keiron versus Protoss. This time, Gerald will be claiming his, well, as a professional player, Protoss. Let me introduce your players. And you should know. You know what? Just get into the game before we do awkward segues. Here we have Asur, who is in the Scion clan. So, one of the most experienced players of the mod. Up against Gerald, who is in the top 15 Protoss in the world. I believe he's ranked about 12th right now. So in this tournament, players were able to pick their main race for one game a series, which, after realizing it was only one game, I believe Dark and Hero moved on with their lives, but this is not the beginning of the series between these two, but instead, a few games in, Gerald decided to pull out the good old-fashioned Protoss. I actually am very interested to see how this goes down, because Gerald obviously has some experience with Scion. It was interesting to see how many kind of, at least higher-tier pro players were able to pick it up. I'm not sure how much Gerald played before the tournament, but clearly has some understanding of how Keiron works, and we'll see what he does to try to exploit that. A Sanctum on the way. I would imagine getting that tech out early. A Volt. I'm pretty sure it can deny probe scouting. Volt, so squishy, so cute. Has a little electron bolt, I believe is the attack. Zip, zip. Essentially an advanced probe. With little walker legs. The Keiron are kind of, it feels like the Protoss, but with a little bit more Zerg in them as well. Just the whole style. If you notice, there's like a yellowish blood on the field after they're destroyed. Like some sort of oil or something like that. Really? Really, Gerald? He goes with the proxy. The proxy. Is that double foundry? Here we go. Gerald is going with a... What? He's blocking... Wow. Oh, Asur is blocking the natural with a reliquary. The Stalkers will come out to deal with it. The Vaults, I don't think have much of a chance of dealing with this pylon in time. But a Sanctum Pulsar being warped in. But with two Foundries, you're going to be able to get multiple Umbras early. Which Umbras, I think, trade pretty well with non-Blink Stalkers. They do have a much greater... Well, we'll see. Modified Gate is on the way. Which, not quite charge, but just a move speed increase for both Pariahs as well as Volts. These kind of lowest tech units here for the Keiron. And Umbra materializing, you can only materialize within range of your Citadel. And the Citadel must be complete, whereas the Protoss, of course, can warp in wherever they have a warp conduit. Or at least a pylon. Warp conduit is technically the name of the fast warping thing. Let's not get too technical here. Alright, moving up. And just targeting the Pulsar. Some Umbras, they do cloak when not firing, but once they've lined up to fire a shot off, well, you see there. Able to do a lot of damage to the Stalkers, but not so hardy that they won't avoid getting sniped off themselves. And the Stalkers are a match for the Umbras, at least for now. But if the numbers ever turn towards the roly-polies here, it does seem like they'll be able to chase them down relatively reliably. But Gerald is on a one-base economy, about to finish his second Nexus. A Converter sees it right there, energizes, the Nexus, the Citadel, which increases the move speed of all these units. I'm not sure if it increases attack speed as well, but the Energize does not last very long. Just enough to drive Gerald back for now. And Gerald has not been a slouch in his economy back at home. The Umbras, cloaked, able to get the first valley up. I think Gerald, ooh, on the high ground there, getting chased down. The Stalker is not quite fast enough to get away. He might use the vision blockers here, but rolls up to the high ground. Couple of Depths shading their way by, matched by the Volts and a single Umbra. Going to be dealt with relatively easily. The Converters have identical HP and shields to a Probe. So, could be sniped off by 2 Adept hits. Gerald giving it a shot, but it's not quite enough. And forced back to his base. He's got a modal on the way, Robo Bay. He saw how good those roly-poly balls were from Asur. Gonna get his own death balls in the form of likely disruptors, I think. Which is gonna make things very confusing. The Observer spots it. There is no detection here from the Keiron. One rolls up, giving away the fact there's clearly an Observer. But the Umbras will strike back. Down goes the Stalker already. Force Field will zone out some of them. Subjector added on. Is not an Immortal. Doesn't have nearly the damage. Now, an Immortal is indeed an Immortal. That's how it works. Okay, that wasn't clever or profound, but it was true. Gerald holds. There's just not enough to cover for the Umbras. Which, while great DPS, this ball's strong. Strong ball's a key part of the Keiron. Gerald, very observant. And, of all the commentary I expected, that was, not on the list. We'll keep you updated on the strength of various balls throughout this match. Atrium is material. Where's he materializing? Here in the main. Foundries still stacking up those charges. The Adepts maybe able to delay the base by sniping the Converter. And just cancels the Citadel entirely. Adept shade into the natural. Snipe off a couple more Converters. The Umbras will chase him down. They'll be dealt with. But gets 4 kills. Another base started. A Zealot gonna start wailing away on it. Could just go for the Converter. The weak point here. Zealot versus Volt. Well, that's a pretty clear difference. The Zealot is... the Volt is only 50 minerals. As is the Pariah. Those tier 1 units. Very cheap for the Keiron, but also very weak. Both players, 47 workers. Umbras easily deal with the pylon here. Some Volts added in. There is a Disruptor, though. Got a strong ball of his own, does Gerald. Supplies nearly even. Umbra's gonna fight it out. Disruptor fires off a shot. Oh, gets targeted, though. No Disruptor shot able to land home. I believe the bonus to shield damage Disruptors have does apply to the Keiron. As technically they have shields as well, just their own flavor. Surprisingly close match between the Protoss and the alternate universe Keiron. I kind of expected one player to get a distinct advantage when Gerald did such a committed cheese. I wasn't sure who. Honestly, I thought the Umbras would do a lot better, but Gerald has adapted. Disruptor fires a shot, but the Umbras and Volts easily able... He's got a Crux. So this cybernetic-looking aberration with its flaming eye... So it has burning eyes. That means it has detection. It sets its eyes on fire to see... it does cost energy, though. Though it gains energy by attacking biological units. Once again, including your own. Just putting that out there. So the Crux has several abilities. It has the Burning Eyes, which is the detection, like an Oracle, kind of. And then it has Magic Mist Lightning Bolt. And it can upgrade Convergence, which is like It's like a disruptor shot, kind of, combined with storm, but it does bonus to mechanical. It doesn't do that much damage, I think like 100, but it's devastating in the right scenarios, if you're able to get enough. But of course, it's very expensive. So here we go. Now, though I don't know if Asur knows it yet, a Myriad comes out, the Electrons will be sniped off, but they do decent DPS against the Stalkers. But here come the Ruptors, fires off a volley. Big hit, center mass, another one gets sniped off though. Umbras take it out easily. On the back line, the Myriads adding some DPS, the Electrons coming up. Oh, a flank, an Umbra flank. And the Immortal gonna try to match it, but the Immortal is taken out. The Disruptors are forced back. And despite the opening salvo... Oh no! Scouting Disruptors! Oh yeah, I guess the Myriads don't have much DPS at all. Takes more out, almost killed... Yeah, that is pretty weak. The fact it takes him that long and doesn't... He hasn't even killed the Ruptor! Meanwhile though, the Umbra's on the chase. Gerald now, his fourth base here. Under fire. Disruptor came into the main, killed 10 converters. There's still an observer in front. The supplies are dead even here. Disruptors recharge. He's gonna warp in. I think he kind of forgot he could do that. He's been... Oh wait, there's no charge, but I guess Zealots are just fine. Asur gonna need to materialize some defense. But of course, the Disruptors energizes. Oh, the Pulsar though, stuck behind. Gonna be able to materialize a few more in. 3 Umbras on the way. You can stack up to 3 charges, though each charge takes longer to accrue. The Disruptors open a salvo, tries to target one, the other one does terrible, terrible damage. I don't think the Umbras shoot up, which is their main weakness. 18 converters down, but Asur dead even. Still, the game is so even. Wow. I'm actually, I didn't know how this would go. I just wanted to show a game of, like, one of the more experienced players with Scion, but still a pro player, up against a Scion. This is actually incredibly close. Even though both players are clearly kind of scrambling for the response. Oh, Disruptor takes out the Umbras, but the Disruptor itself easily taken out. A Titan has joined the field. Disruptor shots. The Titan's not able to get away, but the Volts eat the brunt of it. 11 converters down. I'm not even sure to what this time. Maybe just Stalkers over here. Energizes the Citadel. Is there an Aegis somewhere on the field? I don't believe so. We have a Conduit on the way. Another warp and a whole lot of charge lots heading towards the natural. Gerald starting to consolidate his position. He's got enough army. Disruptor shots on the Titan. Don't quite take it out, but a third shot may finish it off. That's enough. The Titan is brought low. And now charge lots in the main. The nullifiers, not quite enough. And Umbras will come in to respond, but Asur struggling to deal with multiple flanks. The supplies, though, not really telling the story. 9 DTs. If there's one thing that the Scion races really struggle with, in my opinion, it's detection. There is no easily available detection. The Cruxes have some, but not even the nullifiers provide detection. And it looks like a bit of an unceremonious end, but that's it. There is no way to detect those Dark Templar. If the Cruxes aren't in position, there is an air unit, I believe, called the Fuse, that you can bring in as well. But if you're not prepared, getting detection on a whim is incredibly difficult. And Gerald realizes that weakness at the right time. The Dark Templar sliced through the economy, kind of denying us an epic late-game battle. And I'm a bit disappointed in that, to be honest. But still, a surprisingly close match right up until it wasn't. As Gerald takes one. And I've got one more match on Golden Wall. Yes, I'm so excited that these older fun maps were in the pool. But Golden Wall is the choice here. As Asur and Gerald, yet again, one of the most fun maps for spectators and most hated for pros. Golden Wall with its literal gold bases forming a wall to the southern half of the map. Essentially, the north versus the south here. I'm very interested. I'm very interested to see how the Keiron handle it. As Gerald this time is spawning as Keiron himself. And that is, I think, a staple. If enough people get more experience with the mod, and I will make a slight balance complaint myself. Detection is way too hard to come by in Scion. It is my most major gripe with this awesome and incredible mod, is that it feels like every race, and this is another weakness of Genetron, which is we won't see today because apparently it's so weak that almost no one played it in the tournament. It is very cool. It's like essentially it turns, you know what, maybe if we get, I'm gonna up the ante. If we get 2,001 likes on this video, no, 2,000, because it's more like a Space Odyssey kind of thing. If we get 2,000 likes on this video, we'll showcase some Genetron games. It has some very cool mechanics, but they take a long while to build up to. It feels it's just too hard to put the pieces together to be competitive, especially with the level of production that Keiron and Xayid can bring to the table. So it's essentially the Protoss of Scion. A gold base first from Gerald, who clearly remembers the Golden Wall and is using it for what it was. What it's known for. Oh, Asur was going to go for the reliquary, but the pariah comes up and slaps. I love that little scythe. Just so cool, these models. All the little noises, it really just... It does feel like the Keiron got the most full... I don't know if there's a single thing for the Keiron that is actually... a few similar units to your more vanilla StarCraft 2, but while the Xayid and the Genetron have some models and animations that are incredibly similar, if not just from like custom games or from some of the co-op stuff, I think almost everything for Keiron is entirely unique. And it looks amazing. Even the little vaults. Well, the vaults are kind of gross, in my opinion. But got a really weird look to them. But it fits their little zappy attack. Essentially, little zaplings there. Apparently, the look of buildings materializing is very similar to, I believe, Supreme Commander. We have an Echo on the way. The early support flyer. I believe this is the thing with detection. Not 100%. He's also upgrading... why did the tooltips not work? I think the Echo Siege mode that allows it to be cloaked and... I was doing some. I don't think they like it. Dissonance Projector. This is clearly not good. It looks like it's slowing everything down. He can't see it. I don't think so. It's not damaging them, but it's really bad for their self-esteem. Oh, the Volt is able to target it. Oh, he finished an Oculus. Ah, yes. The Oculus is, well, he gives vision in a radius. He scans, or does something similar to scanning. Clearly not enough. So here we see, but on the other side, Gerald not having it. He's like, well, he goes with the age-old StarCraft strategy of if your opponent is doing something weird, go fucking kill him. But the pulsars are enough to defend. An Imperial... What? You could do that? He's warping it in, or materializing it off the map. The pariahs are able to get into the main. They got their speed upgrade here. This is still happening as Gerald tries to figure out an answer. But how much was lost? He lost 14 pariahs, 50 minerals apiece. Or very little damage. That was not... I think that was more out of frustration than being worth it. He's got now the Oculus providing vision here, but it seems these Echoes are making things difficult across the board. It's still in the main, slowing things down. Some of the mineral line. Not actually killing. So it's interesting, it doesn't actually kill anything. It just makes it slow and sad. Like aging. Moving up. Pulsars. Just burning through the vaults. The vaults behind, able to deal with the pariahs. It does look like it'll be cleaned up, but at what cost? The pariahs. Ooh, materializing more defense. Gerald struggling, but he's got the gold base, which means the economies have been competitive despite Gerald's lower worker count and somewhat hamstrung converters in the main. He's got 4 sanctums. He's getting a reliquary now. 4 edifices. It feels weird to say. Eddies. Nope. Asur takes out the mineral wall in the back and will unlock the southern part of the map. And a much more defensive posture. Elysium complete. I love how you can build. This is a really cool idea as well. Is having air buildings. As well as like the air defense structures. We now have the Pulsar Dampener, which reduces splash damage to the Pulsar, I believe. Something like a Guardian Shield-esque? Just a general crab shield. Mostly a defensive ability, if I'm not mistaken. The pariahs. Sprinting along, looking for any bases that might be in that top corner. Shading forward. Just that little quick shade blink. Allows them to get reposition in fights very quickly. I think Gerald really embracing the mass production mechanics of Keiron here. Honestly, kind of like Zerg ooh, going for the Elytron mini splash damage. You know, the dampener are going to help a lot against that. This gives the Volts a bit of splash damage, a bit of a chain lightning effect, increasing their DPS, especially against things like pariahs. This is still here as Gerald's struggling with the idea of detection. I gotta go back to it again. Very hard to get reliable detection, in my experience. So if that was something that could be adjusted, that would be my one main criticism of the mod. And it can be a very frustrating moment when you don't have detection against something you really need it. Well, but nothing required here as the pariah shade forward. Amplified spheres. Oh wait, no, it's the dampener that's the defensive. Amplified spheres sounds aggressive. We'll see. The pulsars on each side. But Gerald easily overwhelms. Asur biting off way more than he can chew. In fact, not even realize he was involved in the conversation in the first place. He clearly did not expect Gerald to be out here. Now Gerald has so much bearing down. A couple cruxes in the back line. But overall, not so great at the single target DPS. The nullifier Aegis is warped in. Such an epic effect. Does he have enough for the shield? It does provide some additional DPS. The nullifiers are great as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, a Paragon! What? He rushed a Paragon. Though the Subjector is easily able to subject it to overwhelming firepower. The defenses were enough. Asur. Down it goes. There was something inside of it, it looked like. Like an escape pod kind of ship. I don't know if that was related to it, but it looked like there was a ship left over after the Paragon was destroyed. That's an expensive loss, though. 8 supply. I'm not sure exactly how much it costs, but I think it's comparable to a battlecruiser. The Paragon. So far, Gerald has lost exactly 0 gas and only 2,800 minerals. Another Paragon spotted. The Subjectors are able to intercept it. Doesn't have that much effective HP. Does have that orb ability built in if you get it, but Gerald is gonna take another gold base. Asur definitely focused on the quality over quantity units. Does he have convergence? He does not for the cruxes. I think convergence, well, most of this he has so many subjectors. I gotta compare them repeatedly with Goliaths. They just don't have that much anti-ground DPS, but they're relatively spammable, obviously. And they are very helpful against air. The nullifiers On the back, he uses the shield bubble to hold the line. The Aegis is warped in from the south. His army going to be intercepted down there, not using the Aegis shield. Myriad here. Oh, the Aegis starting to lose shields itself. We'll see if he decides to try to recharge it. Some subjectors on the other side. A bit of a base trade scenario. Inducer added on, but not enough to protect it. The Umbra should be able to deal with it relatively quickly. Energizes the Nexus. Citadel. Inducer. Ooh, Crux takes the wrong angle there. But the Myriad on the back line. Getting intercepted. Gerald. I love the little... They even have little idle animations. Look at them. Aww. While they're building. I love that. There's so much detail in these models. They look amazing. No, once again, it doesn't seem like they... While they have these little electrons here, it doesn't seem like they have much DPS at all. Just kind of a long-range support. Something to help provide a front line. Because they're technically ground units. And can be taken out by ground units as well. Alright, here comes Gerald, who's maintained, it seems, more army throughout this. Shield bubbles from the wards. It just turns the ward's 250 shields into a bubble. Once you burn through it, the ward is left with no shields. But it spreads it over an area. Kind of like a Guardian shield, but literal. Very cool looking effect, though. Gerald has so much. What are those? Those are... He has 4 Pantheons for the Titans. Has he warped in any Titans? Materialized any Titan? 24 subjectors. This base is going to be taken out. But Gerald engaging the Aegis. Citadel shield activated. He is going to burn through it relatively easily. No few myriads of his own for Gerald here. But his supply dipping, burning through their shield, and losing everything else on the field. He lost 11 converters. Titans being materialized at the forward goal. Not mining anymore, but the closest location he has to bring units onto the field. Meanwhile... Another shield. Only the myriads to match. There's just not enough DPS here. More myriads for Asur. Trying to get behind the mineral line. The Titans should be more than enough to deal with it. The Pariahs. These seem kind of exposed. We have now the Electron fight. Should be able to burn through this. Gerald coming back to defend. Does he have enough? In kind of a flanking scenario. The supplies are even, but... Titans on one side, the rest of the army on another. Pariahs in front. The Electrons are getting ground down. The Titans concentrating their firepower, and the Myriads are absolutely crushed. Much like flanking carriers, it seems like it was more than enough. Oh, and Asur agrees. Gerald's economy is too damn much, despite Asur's Wait, did he kill? I don't know when. Oh my god, it was here the whole game. There needs to be better options for detection. But, at the end of the day, having a superior economy, more stuff counters less stuff. Gerald able to bring it all together and attain victory yet again, even in a KVK match. Gerald, clearly with a pretty solid understanding and impressive adaptability of both Protoss and Keiron. And a special shout out to eGGz as well, with a great match. If you want to see more, or play more, you can check out the Scion mod. They have a Discord. Jimmy put it in the description. And, well, let me know in the comments. I think it looks super cool. It might not be something to add into the ladder today or tomorrow, but definitely worth a look. And just so much amazing work gone into it. Shout out to Solstice for putting it all together. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this made your day a little more interesting, a little better. If you got the beans of motivation, it'd be awesome if you could check out Patreon, YouTube membership, either way. Like and subscribe for more content every single day. Yeah, pretty much. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.